Hi and welcome to the Bats in Churches e-learning program for cleaning in churches. This course will give you an overview of cleaning techniques that will help you to look after your church and clean in a way that will negatively impact items of heritage significance. Churches are home to artifacts that rival anything found in national museums and stately homes, from 15th century painted screens through crafted wooden pews to monumentally huge sculpted tombs. Churches and the artifacts within are unique and special, but they're also vulnerable. We will discuss a general approach to cleaning in churches, share a key advice if you're cleaning when a church has bats, and look at cleaning regimes for different materials. I hope by the end of the course, you will be better equipped to make the right choices for your church and feel that you're making a difference. Further information, general cleaning guidelines and additional resources can be found in our companion booklet, Cleaning Guidelines for Churches with Bats. Taking steps to prevent damage is by far the most effective way to maintain your church and its contents. Poor conditions can cause problems in the building that will have an effect on historic artifacts. Artworks and artifacts often show the first signs that there's something inherently wrong with the building, such as rusting areas, flaking paint, and cracking, for example. To identify any potential issues before damage gets too severe, we need to monitor the building and any artifacts, looking out for moisture, insect frass, and cracking, amongst other things. Keeping a log, taking regular photographs, allocating cleaning roles, and having a rota of responsibilities will help you monitoring the space and the objects. You can find an object condition and care template in the companion cleaning guidelines document. External factors that contribute to the degradation of artifacts include pest, movement and accidental damage, mold and droppings from bats and birds. If an item is at risk of being damaged in a certain area of the church and can be moved, try moving it to a safer area. If not, consider covering it. Organize the spaces and items so there are no piles of paper or textiles in areas with little ventilation, as this will encourage pests and damp. Improving appearances can help a place look attended and well cared for, which may deter some vandalism. Something that is unkept and almost abandoned is more likely to attract negative attention. If your church has bats in residence, it's essential that any droppings and urine are cleaned immediately upon discovery, as part of your daily cleaning routine. Even though objects might seem robust, we still need to treat them with a lot of care. There's a difference between conservation cleaning and home cleaning. Unsuitable cleaning methods can damage and shorten the life of the items we are trying to save. We must achieve a balance between pristine cleanliness and preserving integrity. The materials used in the construction of modern houses, hospitals, offices, and even the more modern kitchen or toilets installed at churches are robust enough to avoid damage, as we vacuum, scrub stains, and clean using chemical sprays, floor cleaners, and bleach. Historic floors, walls, seats, and artifacts within churches are more delicate, so it makes sense that these cleaning materials are not always appropriate for use. A clean, polished, and immaculate finish on aged surfaces could ruin their historic appearance. The need to protect the structures, interiors, and artifacts should be foremost in your mind before you start to clean. Consult your church warden or the statement of significance before the start of your cleaning to avoid damaging important historical items. And if in doubt, please refrain from cleaning. If your church has bats present, it's important to recognize bat spoil and understand the impact that it can have when not immediately cleaned. Cleanup after bats should focus on removing urine and droppings. However, stains or scarring often require more intervention and should only be carried out by under the instruction of a conservator. All UK bats feed on insects, and the droppings have made up the insect exoskeletons. Bat droppings can sometimes be mistaken for mouse droppings, but unlike mouse droppings, they do not contain any moisture. They crumble easily and look slightly sparkly when crumbled. Roll a dropping into a piece of tissue between your finger and thumb. If it crumbles under only a little pressure, it's a bat dropping. Sometimes dropped and processed by insects turn into thrash, which has a more deconstructed look into it. Just look for any solid whole droppings nearby. Urine is more difficult to see, but fresh droplets appear darker in colour. As the moisture evaporates, the urine drops turn lighter, leave a bloom of salts. You may be able to smell it. The priority is to immediately absorb as much of the liquid as possible, using an absorbent cloth or heavy-duty paper towel. Bats tend to excrete urine and drop-ins as they leave and enter both buildings and roosting-sized buildings. Deposits can be concentrated around these locations. However, depending on the flight patterns, bats may excrete all over and throughout the building. It is important to regularly dust and vacuum up urine, salts and drop-ins. The frequency depends on the amount of deposits seen. Nitrile gloves are essential, and masks are recommended when cleaning drop-ins and dust. Be sure to wash your hands after completing any cleaning. Generally speaking, bat drop-ins and urine do not pose a threat to human health, but on extremely rare occasions there are risks from allergic reactions. For example, dust inhalation in cleaning up very large quantities of drop-ins or gastrointestinal infection from consumption of drop-ins. These risks can all be avoided by following the simple precautions outlined in this film and by maintaining basic standards of hygiene. The only known disease found in UK bats that can be passed from bats to human is rabies, which has only been found in a small number of bats in the UK. It's transmitted by a bite or scratch from an infected bat. There's no risk for you whatsoever if you do not approach or handle a bat. If you find a live bat while cleaning, do not touch it. Leave the bat in place and visit the Bat Conservation Trust website for advice and information on what to do if you find a bat that is grounded, possibly injured or sick. Before any cleaning is carried out, it's important to examine the surface of the item to identify any historical painting, decoration or areas of damage. Do consult with a professional if there's any of these. Less is more, so always start with a dry cleaning. We recommend to never use any commercial cleaners as the chemicals they contain can damage surfaces. To dry clean, use lint-free cloths on objects with smooth surfaces. Do not press hard, as dust could scratch the surface. For more intricate objects, use brushes with a light movement to lift off the dust. Vacuums can also be used and should be set to the lowest possible setting. A simple muslin cloth or pop sock could be tied to the end of the nozzle to avoid soaking up any loose pieces of an object, and the nozzle should never touch the surface. For cleaning heavily dusty surface, a cosmetic sponge can be very gently dabbed over the object. However, these act as a rubber, so don't use it with any surface with decorations. Consult a booklet or a conservator for more detailed information. To reach high areas rather than use a ladder, we suggest using a long extendable pole with a brush that allows us to reach higher corners. Remember to always be aware of your surroundings. Make sure you finish the work by vacuuming the surrounding areas where you have been cleaning. Keeping a cleaning schedule and maintenance log will help you track what is being cleaned and when, avoiding overcleaning and unnecessary work. This list of tasks should include clearing gutters, damp pipes and drains, which will help alleviate damp issues. You can find templates for a cleaning log, a calendar in the accompanying cleaning guidelines for churches with bats booklet or download it from our website. Removing dirt from the surface of historic items limits the chances of staining, corroding, deteriorating and attracting pests in the future. Before we attempt to clean something, we need to stop and think about the object itself. Is it safe to clean? Is it structurally stable? Are there any areas of weakness or any delicate surface? If there are painted areas, is there flaking paint? If any historic paint is found, it must not be cleaned. If damage is found, such as broken or missing parts, carefully store the attached parts in a label bag or box and discuss it with your church warden or ask your DAC for advice. It may be necessary to consult a qualified conservator. An absolute priority before starting any cleaning is your own safety. A precautionary approach should be taken to protect ourselves at all times. Some historic artifacts and paints could have toxic materials in their composition, like asbestos or lead. There is also the possibility they have been treated with insecticides in the past, that could be harmful to us now. Mold can be found on any object. Although it grows in organic materials like leather, paper and textiles, it can also grow in the layers of dust and dirt on top of inorganic materials such as metal and glass. The use of personal protective equipment is recommended when cleaning historic interiors. Nitrile gloves and an FPP2 or FPP3 face mask makes up the basic PPE. The gloves are powdered and will not leave residue, while at the same time giving us total control and feel of what we are cleaning. They are especially important when cleaning metal items as they prevent the oils from our hands passing into the object and ending up with fingerprints all over a newly cleaned object. Avoid latex gloves, and latex can trigger allergies and is damaging to silver materials. White cotton gloves are also not recommended as they reduce the feeling sensation and can get caught in splinters or delicate surfaces. A properly fit face mask protects the wearer from airborne dust, mold and other volatile agents. Here we will discuss a selection of different items that make up an excellent clean kit for your church. Our first option will always be a dry clean, and we generally don't use liquids or sprays as they could damage the surface of objects. Vacuum cleaners are useful for the removal of dust and debris. We recommend a vacuum with a HEPA filter and adjustable suction power. The HEPA filter will trap small particles and not release them back into the air, which is vital in areas with mold or dust. The lowest power setting will allow us to remove dust and debris without damaging delicate items. A muslin cloth or pop sock must be used at the end of the nozzle to prevent sucking up any loose pieces. Lean-free cloths are perfect with objects with smooth surfaces. Fold your cloth into the size of your hand and ensure none of the edges are protruding. When dusting, be careful not to press hard as the dust can scratch the surface. With wooden items, always wipe in the direction of the grain. You can refold your cloth between items and surfaces and be sure they're always dusting with a clean area. On more delicate and intricate objects, we use a variety of different size brushes with cover ferrules. The more delicate the object being cleaned, the softer the brush has to be. Brushes should be used with light movements to gently lift the dust. We normally combine brushing with vacuum on the lowest suction level to suck the dust. Hold the nozzle just above the area you're brushing. For dustier surfaces, a cosmetic sponge can be very gently dabbed over the object. These are the same cosmetic sponges that are normally used to apply makeup, so they're easy to obtain and normally quite cheap. An alternative will be a smoke sponge that you can get from specialty stores. These are made from vulcanized rubber, so it can trigger allergies. They were designed to clean up following fire damage and have numerous uses, particularly for cleaning stone or hard surfaces. Just remember to use them gently. There's no need to press down as they could damage the object. These swabs are really useful to clean in small areas, especially when damp with deionized water. Roll over the object being cleaned and do not drag. Another great clean covers table is an extendable long pole with a brush or duster to help you reach higher and further. Be aware of your surroundings when using the long pole, as you might be standing too close to a colleague or an object. Brush and pan or a stiff garden brush used to brush bad waste. To add another level of protection, sometimes objects can be treated with a wax. For wood, we recommend natural waxes such as Harolds, and for other materials, including metals, a thin coat of Renaissance wax can be used to protect the object. There are areas of objects within every church that may need to be wet cleaned. For example, surface dirt on tile floors can be removed with minimal quantities of warm water and a conservation-grade detergent or equivalent, or a wooden surface, a pew for example, would need to be wiped with a dampened cloth and detergent prior to waxing. Generally, when wet cleaning, use only the smallest quantity of a specialist detergent. Use a well-round-out damp cloth and mops rather than wet. Bear in mind that the water is applied to an unsuitable finish. It can result in damage, including white blooming marks, so if unsure, seek expert advice. The ionized water is highly purified water that contains no dissolved minerals or other impurities. When used for cleaning, the neutral pH and purity significantly reduce the risk of damage compared to tap water. Both sensitive and shower care are brands which have been tested and approved by conservators as alternatives to conservation detergents. Use only the smallest possible quantity. A drop or two in a litre of water is enough. Whenever using a damp cloth, have a dry one in hand for removing any excess liquid and remaining moisture. When using a mop, always be sure the mop head is well wrung out and only just damp. Ideally, you will have a second dry mop to remove any remaining moisture from mop surfaces. A quality steam mop can further reduce the amount of water needed for effective cleaning on certain tile floors. These are some common and household cleaning agents that are particularly suitable for use on historic artifacts and surfaces. Wood polish. Avoid commercial products that contain acrylics or silicates. Metal polish. Be cautious of commercial polishers as they contain hard particles which can scratch the softer alloys of copper. They can also contain ammonia that could dissolve copper. Detergents. Avoid detergents with dyes, bleach or parabens. Natural oils, for example nut oils, linseed oil or olive oil, avoid them as they can get rancid and mouldy and lead to infestation or blackening of tiles. Avoid traditional techniques and old wives' cleaning tips, for example newspaper and vinegar for windows. Simply put, question everything, and if you don't know what's in it, don't use it. The most commonly found timber items within churches fall into two categories: fittings and furnitures, such as pulpits, screens or pews, and architectural items such as floorboards, panelling or staircases. Before any cleaning is carried out, it's important to examine the surface of the item to identify any historic painting decoration or areas of damage. If any damage or painting decoration is found, report it to the person responsible for the building or a suitable qualified conservator. It's also important to be able to recognize an active insect infestation which looks like fresh wood dust. Ideal equipment for cleaning timber and woodwork includes nitrile gloves, dust mask, stiff and soft brush, absorbent cloth, heavy-duty paper towel and a brush pan or card. Always wear nitrile gloves and wash hands before completing any cleaning. It is recommended that masks are worn during cleaning as fungal spores from bad droppings can irritate the lungs. Be aware that some people might be allergic to the insect casings in the droppings. It's important to immediately remove droppings and urine deposits when found, as this will reduce any possible deterioration to the surface of wood and timber items, especially when urine and droppings are found together. For droppings, brush dirt or pick into a card or brush pan. For urine, if discovered early, the priority is to absorb as much of the liquid as possible using an absorbent cloth or heavy-duty paper towel. If urine deposits have dried, remove the residue salts by brushing with a soft bristled brush. Report any staining or material damage to a qualified expert or whoever is in charge of the overall maintenance of the church. Dust with a lint-free cloth or a soft brush. In certain situations, it may be the case that a combination of brush, vacuum and cloth will be needed to clean the complex or intricate shapes. Unless otherwise instructed, please only use dry or very slightly damp cloths. Try to avoid wet mopping, but if it's essential, use an almost dry mop, rinse in clear water. Dry off with a dry mop. Additional information and further cleaning methods can be found in the Cleaning Guidelines for Churches with Baths booklet. Various metals, including brass, bronze, lead, copper, steel and iron, are often found in churches either as a structural element or part of monuments and decorative items such as candlesticks and crosses. These items are usually historic, and whilst they don't absorb liquids, the surface can be damaged easily and will often show signs of damage and decay. More information on the use and identification of metals can be found in the Cleaning Guidelines for Churches with Baths booklet. Before cleaning, inspect the items to identify the material or materials and any surface coatings and decorations. During this inspection, any damage, decay or painted decoration should be recorded, and you should inform the person responsible for the building or a suitable qualified conservator. Cleaning bad spoil from most metal objects is generally similar in approach to cleaning wood. It's vitally important to remove drop-in and urine deposits immediately upon discovery. Always wear nitrile gloves when handling and cleaning metals. The oils in our hands will damage the metal surface. Remove drop-ins with a brush, or provide there is no painted decoration, a vacuum cleaner can be used, but always set the vacuum to the lowest power. A soft bristle brush can be used to remove any build-up of debris in the tail areas of metal items. Remove urine with an absorbent cloth or paper towel. Residue salts from dyeing urine can be removed with a soft bristle brush. Household cleaning products, especially those that are abrasive, are too harsh for historic materials. Commercial polishing products should not be used to polish any metal items, as it can weaken and damage the metal and rub out decoration. Gold or silver cloth can be used to clean copper, brass and silver objects. Do not use the same piece of cloth for different materials, and always mark the back or cloth. It is not advised to attempt to remove or rectify any surface discoloration, as this may damage the underlying metal. Photograph it and log the damage in the object condition and care log for ongoing assessment. Cleaning lead is not recommended, as it may release potentially dangerous lead dust. Historic textiles typically include altar cloths, kneelers, curtains, basements, carpets, rugs and upholstered furniture. Horizontal surfaces are the most visible areas for a build-up of dust and dirt particles. It's important to be methodical when cleaning textiles. A toolkit for cleaning textiles should include gloves, dust mask, magnifying glass, vacuum, muslin or nylon mesh, paper sheets, absorbent towel and tweezers. It is important to inspect all the textiles before cleaning to assess the condition. If there's any damage, such as loose fringes, missing beadwork or tears to the fabric, this needs to be approached separately, as that's the discovery of mold. All damage information should be logged into the object condition and care document. You should then contact a professional conservator for more advice. Undamaged textiles can be cleaned with a low-suction vacuum cleaner. It's good practice to test a small area first. Covering the vacuum nozzle with a piece of muslin cloth, pop sock or a pair of ties will help you discover how much dust is deposited on the fabric and tell you if the textile might be too fragile to vacuum. If the test captures any loose fibers, it is best to stop and seek further advice. Additional information and further cleaning methods can be found in the Cleaning Guidelines for Churches with Bats booklet. When cleaning with bats in residence, it's important to remove drop-ins and urine deposits when found, to reduce possible deterioration to the fibers. For drop-ins, use a sheet of paper or card as close to the affected areas as possible. Using a brush, carefully lift and move the drop-ins into the paper and dispose. For urine, if discovered early, the priority is to absorb as much of the liquid as possible by dabbing with an absorbent cloth or heavy-duty paper towel. Follow with a clean absorbent towel, place over the area and leave to rest until dry. It's not advised to rub the affected area, as this works the urine further into the fibers. Remember to wear nitrile gloves and a mask when cleaning after baths, and always wash hands after completing any cleaning. Books can be made from a variety of organic material, and it's important to identify the material of the book and its stability before cleaning. Wash hands thoroughly before handling books. Clean hands, free of any hand lotion or creams, are best for handling books. If you're unable to wash your hands prior to cleaning or the book is moldy, please wear a pair of nitrile gloves. If the book is large and you're unable to hold the book comfortably in one hand, place it on a flat surface, preferably with a sheet of plastic underneath. Cleaning should be dry, using a brush, not a duster, and directing the dust preferably into a vacuum fit with a piece of muslin cloth over the nozzle. If you don't have a vacuum, the dust should be brushed into a container. Keeping the book closed, use a soft brush and dust along the top edges of the pages, brushing from the spine to the foredge of the book. Then dust down the foredge along to the bottom of the pages, always working from the spine to the foredge. To dust inside the front and back boards of the books, it's best to support the book on a cushion or a small bean bag if possible. A book suffers less stress when open and less than 90 degrees. Use a fan motion starting in the center of the book at the joint, working outwards. Stone can come in many different forms within a church, from a very building blocks the church is built from, to finely carved monuments and memorials. Each different stone type requires different approaches when cleaning, so it's important to have a basic understanding of what stone types are present in your church. These include limestone, sandstone, marble, purple marble, or alabaster. Equipment for cleaning stonework include gloves, dust mask, soft brush, vacuum, paper sheets, broom, dustpan, cobweb brush, or wooden spatulas. Before cleaning, inspect the area for any loose fragments. Make a note of any crack or loose areas and avoid cleaning these so that more damage is not caused. Never use cleaning materials on painted surfaces as the pigments may react with them. Water is not recommended for any preventive cleaning. The removal of deep staining and residue in stonework should be left for a specialist stone conservator. The introduction of water to any type of stonework can be damaging, but especially so for alabaster, which dissolves readily of water. Any spillage of excess water should be removed as soon as possible. It's not advisable to use any chemical or commercial cleaners on any stonework, as the chemicals they contain can damage surfaces, causing loss of detail and further deterioration. Even household cleaning products are too harsh for historic materials, especially those which are abrasive in nature. A simple brush is all that you will need. For a stonework with salt efflorescence, any salt crystals sitting on the surface of the stone can be removed by gently brushing off into a dustpan. Leaving the salts in place can cause them to build into a crust, preventing the natural evaporation of moisture. Please refer to the cleaning guidelines for churches with bats booklet for more information. When bats are in residence, it's important to remove dropping and urine deposits immediately upon discovery to reduce possible deterioration to the surface on the stonework. Wear nitrile gloves and a mask and wash hands immediately after completing. For bat droppings, use a brush and pan or a card. If discovered early, the priority for urine is to absorb as much of the liquid as possible using an absorbent cloth or heavy-duty paper towel. If urine deposits have dried, remove the residue salts by brushing with a soft bristle brush. Glass in church windows generally comes in plain quarried and stained glass, which is often painted. Both tend to be leaded and fixed into the stonework or brickwork with iron support bars. Before cleaning, inspect the window for any broken glass, corrosion, or breaks to the lead cames or iron support rods. Also check for rotting window frames and damaged areas of stonework. If you find anything of concern, log it and then seek further advice. For cleaning glass, you need nitrile gloves, dust masks, soft brush, cobweb brush, paper sheets, stiff paper or card. Using a cobweb brush with a telescopic handle, carefully remove cobwebs, working from the top of the windows to the bottom. Take care not to knock the glass with the brush and wear a dust mask if there's lots of dust and debris present. If windows are high and very dusty, you can also wear protective clothing. Due to the use of lead in stained glass and plain quarry windows, direct localized brushing is not advised due to potential presence of lead dust. We don't recommend you use water for any cleaning on glass, as it can cause corrosion to the ironwork holding the window in place. Washing and rubbing the surface of painted stained glass may result in the loss of the paint and painted decoration, so cleaning historic glass should be left to a specialist glass conservator. It is not advisable to use any chemical or commercial cleaners on historic glass, as the chemicals they contain can damage surfaces, causing lots of detail and further deterioration. Even household cleaning products are too harsh for historic materials, especially those that are abrasive in nature. If windows are high and debris is likely to fall on you while you're cleaning up after baths, be sure to wear a mask and protective clothing. Also, wear your nitrile gloves and wash hands after completing any cleaning. It's likely that most bad droppings will be found on windowsill and ledges rather than the glass itself, but if any is found, a cobweb brush can be used to gently remove droppings into a window ledge for removal. If droppings do not come readily, leave in place, as forcing them off may cause damage to the glass surface. Remove droppings or dry urine deposits from window sills with a soft bristle brush. Liquid urine should be dealt with upon discovery by absorbing as much of the liquid as possible using an absorbent cloth or heavy-duty paper towel. Ceramics appear in churches in many forms. They can add a beautiful shot of color to the building, but can also be fragile and easily damaged if not cared for properly. They include terracotta, tiles, glazed brick, and mosaic. Before cleaning any ceramic material, inspect the surface for damage, cracks, chips, or any deterioration to the glaze. Make note of any crack or loose areas and avoid cleaning those to avoid causing more damage. If you find anything of concern, seek further advice. Equipment for cleaning ceramic and tiles include glove, dust mask, soft brush, vacuum, paper sheets, soft broom, dustpan, mop, cobweb brush, and a wooden spatula. Do not attempt to clean medieval and caustic tiles. These should only be carried out by a qualified conservator. Avoid using water or any glazed ceramics or where the glaze is cracked or damaged. It's not advisable to use any chemical, commercial, or household cleaners on any historic ceramic materials, as the chemicals they contain can damage surfaces, causing loss of detail and further deterioration. This especially applies to abrasive compounds. The removal of deep staining or residue on any type of unglazed ceramic material should be left for a specialist ceramic conservator. For general clean of tile floors, use a soft bristled broom to clean away dust and debris, working methodically and carefully from one end of the church to the other. Use a soft bristled brush to remove dust and debris from corners or hard-to-reach places. Remove dust and debris with a dustpan and brush. Particularly dirty floors where the tiles are glazed and in good condition can be cleaned using a damp mop, moistened with clean, deionized water. Dry off immediately with a clean, dry mop. Any excess water should always be removed as quickly as possible. Tile walls and decorative tiles can be cleaned with a telescopic cobweb brush, taking care not to hit any monuments or windows. More elevated tiles with raised areas can be cleaned using a soft bristled brush, working from the top down. Glazed wall tiles can also be cleaned occasionally with a damp cloth using clean water. Any excess water should be removed as quickly as possible, and care should be taken not to drip water into the floor underneath. Dirt that sits in the surface of any tile, such as mud, birds, droppings, candle wax, etc., should be removed as much as possible with brushes. Wooden tools, such as spatulas, can be used to gently lever debris from the surface, but this should only be done if the surface is in good condition. If the tiles are glazed, any residual staining can be removed with an absorbent cloth slightly dampened with clean water. White blooms indicating water staining are common on floor tiles where they have been laid directly into the ground below. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to remove this staining, so only be undertaken by a professional conservator. Wear a mask and protective clothing. It is likely that any bad debris won't fall on you. Wear nitrile gloves and remember to wash your hands after completing any cleaning. It's important to remove droppings and urine deposits immediately when found to reduce possible deterioration to the surface of tiles. Upon discovery of liquid urine, the priority is to absorb as much of the liquid as possible, as soon as possible, using an absorbent cloth or heavy-duty paper towel. If urine deposits have dried, remove the residue salts by brushing with a soft bristle brush. A damp cloth can be used to remove residue, but only from glazed tiles in good condition. For droppings on tile surfaces, remove with a soft bristle brush, gently brushing them onto a sheet of paper for easy disposal. If droppings are in areas of damaged tiles, take great care not to disturb the damaged surface. Bats are wonderful creatures, and far from being pests, they can help control the population of other damaging insects like moths, mosquitoes, and flies. If we take care and develop the right cleaning schedules and habits, coexisting with bats can become a mutually beneficial relationship. This film and cleaning guidelines for churches with bats booklet should give you the solid base for maintaining your church building, fittings, and artifacts. Please do share with your colleagues, and remember, check out our batsinchurches.org website for resources and more information.